Hey, Angie, share with our listeners who we will be speaking with today. He's another talented and creative person.
Well, today we're going to have Rizal Tony as our guest, who is a director of jazz. He's a jazz guitarist, composer, and arranger for ensembles and big bands.
This is going to be especially good because I love jazz music.
Oh, me too.
Hi, everyone, and here we are celebrating what people love to do creatively by giving them a voice. I'm Rod Jones.
And I'm Angie Jones. Welcome to the Thought Road Podcast. We invite you to follow us wherever you listen, and our episodes are absolutely free to listen to. You can go to our website at thoughtroadpodcast.com and listen to current and past episodes directly on our website.
Yes, please do.
Yeah.
I know you found another interesting quote that especially fits this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So, Angie, what do you have for us today?
Okay, here is the quote for today. Jazz stands for freedom. It's supposed to be the voice of freedom. Get out there and improvise, take chances, and don't be a perfectionist. Leave that to the classical musicians. And that is by Dave Brubeck.
Can be my favorite. You know, I had his album Take 5 when I was very young, and I loved that album. I would play it over and over and over. I especially liked Blue Rondo on it, and probably my favorite part of that album is the drum solo.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, that's so epic and iconic.
Well, I think one time when I was in New York, I had an opportunity to hear him at the Sloan House, which is a kind of a USO, but I can't swear by it. But I always want to brag and say I did, but I really don't know if I did or not.
Well, I mean, if you didn't, it's okay. It was somebody that was trying to be like Dave Brubeck, so that's okay.
You know what? That actually is probably could very likely have been the case.
It's okay.
But I listened, that's my favorite album.
Yeah. And I know, like, who wouldn't, though? That's a classic album.
Well, now, Angie and I listen to iHeartRadio, and I especially like the Vinyl Jazz channel, and that's because they record their music literally off of vinyl jazz albums, which gives you all of the subtleties that you don't necessarily get on a CD,
True.
I guess.
They were playing Dave Brubeck, this morning? And it was like, oh, yes, please play more. But, I think we have that playing most of the time in the background. It's in the kitchen kind of / dining area. And, it's just like, I think we do everything on that dining table. Even though we have an office, we end up going there to do our social media and things like that. So it's like a central hub and, really a fun place to listen and work. But, when I'm cooking, I do put on my headphones and I listen to my Spotify playlist because I have got all my favorite songs on it. And I guess, at some point I'll share my playlist on our website so that way people can see it.
Well, I think it's kind of fun when I walk in there and you're dancing around with your headset on or with your...
Yeah.
And it's kind of fun. Apparently you're listening to some pretty
all
cool
the good
music.
Songs,
yeah,
yes.
You listen to pretty cool
all
music.
All the good songs.
But I listen to the iHeartRadio Vinyl Jazz channel.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We do. So
music is really magical.
Yeah.
I have to say, no matter what genre. I mean, I do like country music and I certainly like classical music, but jazz always seems to become a favorite.
Well, Rod, now it's going to be time for your Rod's motivational moment. So let's hear that.
Well, I'm going to shift away from the jazz theme and talk about creativity, like creative journaling.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure virtually every creative person can benefit from journaling. So my motivational moment is, if you haven't done so, start a creative journal and start it today.
Hear, hear. What a great idea.
Well, journaling is a great asset to anyone that is doing virtually anything creative.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you a place to put your notes.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. And I think this would be a great opportunity for me to mention that we are now proud to offer a journal, and it's called All Your Thoughts in a Row Creative Journal. And it's available on our website at thoughtropodcast.com.
Yes.
So,
yeah,
you know, check it out. I think you might like it.
Well, I got the first copy of it. At least when it came in, I grabbed it. Not you
grabbed it and you opened it and you claimed it. And I'm glad you did, actually, because I think this will be a really great way to catalog all of your ideas.
Well, I personally started using it, and I'm actually surprised about my entries. I'm not only writing or making notes in it, and I can write pretty extensively in it, but I'm also making some sketches. And as you know, I have never journaled before in my life.
No, I know you haven't. I have, on and off, when the muse strikes or when I feel like I need to actually put it somewhere. But I'm really liking the journal we put together, Rod, because it's not only is it classy, it's very, very functional. It's spiral bound, so that way it can lay flat if you want to draw or write, doing creative writing. But we do have pages that have lines on them, and we do have blank pages so you can draw on them. So that way you can do sketches along with maybe a story you're writing.
Sure. One of the things I like about it is we didn't put some loud piece of artwork on it.
No.
And not a piece of yours or mine, whatever.
No.
It's, it kind of just is not real.
It's classy.
It's classy.
Classy, classic.
It's not loud. That's what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. If you pull it out at a coffee shop or something, it just looks like you're making some notes. It's not bringing it. I know what I want to say. It's not bringing a lot of attention to itself.
Right. And it's really all about you and your creativity and what you put inside. There are no fancy drawings on the inside. This is all up to you to put your own creative thoughts, your own creative drawings, ideas, doodles, whatever you would like on it. And the best part is I know I do this all the time, and I really don't think it's a very good habit. And maybe you guys do it out there. I don't know. You find the yellow sticky notes and you put your wonderful creative ideas or drawings on them, and then you put it somewhere safe and you never find them again.
Well, what's interesting about sticky notes is they become unsticky.
And then they fall out.
They fall, and then you have a pile of them somewhere, and then you try to shift through them.
Right.
Well, anyway.
So this is a great place to put all that where you won't lose it, and you can chronicle everything, and that way you don't lose your thought.
Check it out.
Yeah.
I think you'll really like it. Okay, so I know we're going to be interviewing a jazz musician.
Yeah.
And I think the history of jazz is a fascinating one. It's truly American music, but it has been embraced throughout the entire world.
Yeah.
And I'm excited about this one.
Yeah, and I'm especially fond of the jazz clubs in Paris, the Latin Quarter. So fun.
Well, in Paris, Paris claims that they are the jazz capital of the world. Mm-hmm. And, to a degree, they're pretty on top of it when it comes to jazz. But personally, I like the Blue Note in New York.
Yeah.
I always wanted to go to Birdland, never had a chance. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to go to Harlem because there's great jazz there.
Absolutely.
The only real place that I ever went to listen to jazz was the Blue Note. But trust me, that was not disappointing. That was definitely a highlight for me.
I'm sure it was. No, I personally, I've never been to a New York jazz club, which is kind of weird because we live here in the U.S., but maybe someday, huh?
Yeah, sure.
Someday.
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, Rod. What is your favorite jazz instrument?
Well, I kind of like brass, but sometimes I find it a little bit annoying. Mm-hmm. I like the woodwind, saxophone, especially the clarinet. I mean, There's great jazz with clarinets. I think I probably would have to stick with maybe the saxophone.
Mm. Wasn't that the first instrument that you were supposed to play in school?
I didn't think you'd bring that up.
Yes, I remembered that.
Yes, that was the one that my music teacher would pick up a snare drum and throw it at the students.
Oh gosh!
But
really motivating.
Yes, and I know his name today, and I'll not say it.
Don't say it.
No, I won't.
Because that's kind of sad.
Okay, what about you?
Well, I think that I do like the brass instruments because, there's so many great brass musicians in jazz. I love clarinet, of course. There's, again, wonderful musicians. But I'm thinking about, when you're in a jazz club and you're having a few cocktails and you've maybe had a few too many cocktails and somebody starts getting too loud with the brass or whatever, I feel like it's like headache inducing at that point. So I'm going to say guitar and piano, keep it mellow. You can have a conversation and hear the jazz and, get into the groove that way.
Well, I think it sets a wonderful tone.
Yeah.
And I think about that one time I saw a documentary about Art Tatum playing on a broken down piano that was missing probably half of its keys.
Mm-hmm.
And he managed to play Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star on that improvisation
So cool.
for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was just like awestruck. And I actually have him playing on a CD, and pretty amazing. So
yeah, Art sounds
Tatum,
amazing.
top.
Yeah. Well, all this jazz talk, I think we need to hear from our jazz professional that we have for our interview today now.
Yes. Hi, Rizal. We're very excited to have you as a guest today. And we are especially excited to have a jazz guitarist and a composer.
Hi, yes, Rizal. Looking forward to hearing about your evolution of you and your music.
Yeah, hi, Rod and Inchi. It's a pleasure and it's nice to be here with you guys.
Okay.
Wonderful.
We're happy you're here.
Yes. Okay, but before we start the interview, we always like to ask our guests what they had for breakfast. And I know for you, it's been a few hours because it's late at night for you right now. So you got to think back to breakfast.
Okay, sure. Well, I had scrambled eggs this morning with a slice of butter cake and coffee, of course.
I like the butter cake part.
Yeah, because we had scrambled eggs and toast. But it was whole wheat toast or whatever it was.
Yeah, it wasn't that exciting.
No, I like what you had. I like what you had better.
Okay.
We'll be there tomorrow for breakfast with you.
Okay, sure thing. Although it's 7,000 miles away. But yeah, sure.
Exactly.
Where are you? I'm real curious because we're talking about that you're 7,000 miles away. Where are you speaking to us from?
Well, actually, I'm speaking to you from a small state in Malaysia. It's called Selangor. It is just like 13 kilometers away from Kuala Lumpur, the major city in Malaysia. Yeah. And it's a very nice, calm environment in the place that I'm living in right now, far from the hustle of bustle of Kuala Lumpur. I chose to be here because, being in the music line, we deal with a lot of, sounds and heading towards the gigs and all in the major city. So it's going to be a lot of traffic and all. So I'm just satisfied being here,
That sounds like a great place to be.
Sounds beautiful too.
When you do have a gig, a performance, you drive into a major city then?
Yes, that's right. Absolutely. And then when it's just like 13, 14 kilometers away, but sometimes, I think in major cities all around the world, when there's traffic. You can't escape from that. So I kind of like being here. Yeah.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing you have a studio in your home where you practice?
Yes, I have a small studio whereby I can, practice and I can write songs, I can compose tunes, and I can even, record like some tracks, for demos and for recordings. Yeah.
Perfect.
That's really perfect. Now, Rizal, you're very talented when it comes to music, and we're going to get to hear a little bit about your music a little later. But tell us about where you grew up and when you started to pursue jazz and modern music.
Okay. I would just like to share a very interesting story about me, actually.
Great.
When I was a young kid, I never thought that I would play music And I actually started playing music at a very, very late age,
Mm-hmm.
compared to what's happening now. People start at the age of 3, back then even. And I am actually a sportsman. I was involved immensely in soccer. I was playing for the state and the national team for the longest years. And unfortunately, I had an injury, a massive injury. So, I couldn't play soccer anymore, at least in the professional league. And that's when I started, considering, taking music or learning music, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But it was self-taught, for the first couple of weeks. And then somehow I saw an advertisement in the newspaper. There's this university, that accepts, so-called candidates that is like, like latecomers, or they just want to learn music, because a lot of conservatories, they want to accept people who are really, really, good,
Yeah.
earlier on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I am very fortunate and thankful to my dad, actually, because he is working in a hospital, but he also plays music. So he decided to teach me a few chords and a few scales back then, which I didn't know it was related to jazz. Because all these seventh chords and all those tension chords and all the sophisticated harmonies. And back then, even trying to play it was really, really difficult. And I was at the age of 20 years old that time. And, lucky enough,
Yeah, really.
when I went for the audition, I managed to get in. And maybe one of the reasons why, maybe somehow when I was a kid, I always follow my dad to his rehearsals, but I was busy playing football outside the house, But somehow maybe my ears kind of, gotten to the sound, or maybe, emulated some kind of the sonic scapes of music. And when I was being tested for my ear test, somehow I got it all right. And all the professors, they were really like, oh, okay, well, this is interesting. So that's when I started playing music or getting a formal education. And later part, I came to discover jazz, but after having sort of, being trained in classical guitar for 1 year. So that's basically about the start. So how I came up to jazz.
It's really an interesting story, and that's quite a transition.
Yeah, it really is a big transition.
I do see one parallel here. As a football player, soccer player, we say, you have to practice a lot. You have to be very dedicated. You have to be able to think on your feet, literally. And also as a musician, composer, and all the things that you're involved in that Ingy and I are going to talk to you about, they both they're both similar.
That is, you know what? That's a good point.
They both require hard work, dedication, and probably more important than anything else, concentration.
Very much so.
Yes, it's true. I think the one thing that I hold on most as maybe a life principle or a music principle, and also, the ones that I have been doing before when I was playing soccer, is that I always hold on to this: the first to be there and the last to leave, which means, all the hours and time that I dedicate towards it. That's somehow it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's that makes so sense. True. That just makes so much sense here.
That's so true.
Both Ingy and I had the opportunity to listen to some of your YouTube videos, or watch and listen, with you playing.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
I have to tell you, you playing the jazz music on the guitar, and I hope you'll share a little bit of that with us later on in the interview.
Sure.
But right now, I'm curious as to why you selected the guitar as the instrument of choice.
Oh, okay. Well, at first, I am more inclined to become a saxophone player.
Mm-hmm.
But then, I had to, go to study, and saxophone was somehow, much more expensive than the guitar. So that's the story behind it, actually. But my dad plays the guitar and the keyboard. So I had the opportunity, Dad, can I borrow your guitar? It is some sort of, it's like that. The beginning of the story is like that. But when I started holding on to the guitar, I completely, got myself tight with it because of certain tonalities, that I can produce with the guitar. I mean, of course, it's kind of similar to the saxophone. There's bends, there's scoops, and all things like that.
Sure.
But somehow, there's this subtle thing about the guitar. Like there's a lot of tones that you can create from that, and that got me interested straight away.
Very subtle tones too. Very subtle.
Yes, yes. Subtle, yeah. That's right.
Well, you know what? Everybody that has the opportunity to hear you play is going to appreciate that you did not pick up the saxophone.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So true. Now, we know that you're multi-talented when it comes to directing modern music. You are a composer and an arranger, and you even arrange for ensembles and big bands.
Yes.
That seems like a lot of work. Which one of these do you most excel at or most enjoy doing?
Well, I actually enjoy doing all of it, I can spend like hours, trying to figure out, how to make this sound good, how to make this ensemble sound good, how to make the big band sound good. I can spend hours like trying to read a book about harmony, trying to see about instrumentation as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I think as for me, I think the joy of playing the guitar is more, I guess. Because I think when I play that instrument, I kind of, like become one with it. I'm not saying that composing tunes, it's just the same. Like you put your hearts out for it, but somehow like I connect to the instrument like way, way better. I think so. Yeah, it's like that.
I can understand that.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, I think we
totally
understand that. I mean, it's become an extension of your heart and your soul. And that's a beautiful thing to see in a musician.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think great musicians all have that in common, is my thought on that.
Yes.
It's our understanding that you've directed, plus you were involved in creating the arrangements for jazz festivals. What led you in that direction?
Well, I think I am blessed because I was given the opportunity by a lot of my mentors here and in Australia, at places like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave me like the platform for me to exercise all this craft. And I think it started off from there, and that led me somehow to trying to lead something, trying to be creative at something, not only for the music aspect and also for the direction of, like the education and the direction of the concert and the festival and how it's going to happen. So somehow I think I am given the opportunity to try and show whatever it is that I can do for the community and for the country and for the students and things like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that would impact all of that. I mean, the people that have the audience would enjoy it, the musicians would enjoy it, and yeah, that's pretty exciting.
It is.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, this is going to be a good time for us to have you play a little bit of jazz music for us on your guitar. So Rizal, please let our listeners know what you would like to play for us today.
Okay, I am going to play a tune called Beatrice by Sam Rivers. It's going to be in a trio format. And, the arrangement is going to be like kind of a combination of old school and modern jazz combined together.
Okay, cool.
Nice.
Can't wait to hear.
Cannot wait.
Yeah. So let's listen.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was beautiful.
That was so great. Thank you, Rizal,
thank you, Rizal,
for sharing that.
I know our listeners are going to like
pleasure.
it, but I know I really liked it.
Yeah.
Because I love jazz anyway.
We're loving the jazz anyway, yeah.
We're going to listen to more too, right? In this?
Yeah, later.
Yeah. It seems to me, in order for someone to be as accomplished as you are with your guitar, that it must require a lot of hours of practice. Is that accurate? I know it is, but tell us.
Yeah. we just want to hear.
Yeah.
So what is your kind
What's
of
your routine? Yeah.
Okay, now, since now I am being the director of jazz studies in one of the biggest universities in Malaysia, I must say that my hours of practice is not like when I was like really playing as a freelance or as a professional musician. But I make sure that every time I wake up in the morning, I should do at least 1 to 1.5 hours of warm up. And towards the afternoon, I'll start practicing. And when I come back home at night, I will continue practicing. So all in all, I think it is best to say at least 4 to 5 hours a day. That's going to be it. If I can do it longer, I'll do it longer for sure. Yeah.
No, that's
it just sounds like anytime you have a moment, you will pick up your guitar and just really play. And since you're doing your university gig right now, that does cut into it. But you're also doing your course is about guitars, right? And about playing.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, so
that's right.
You're really rehearsing when you're there too, mentally.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's exactly right.
I want to ask you this quick question is who is your favorite guitarist? Your acoustic and electric?
Okay. My favorite guitar player for the electric will, of course, be George Benson.
Oh, yeah.
And and the acoustic one will be, Django Reinhardt.
Django Reinhardt would be my number
this
one
morning.
pick.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I also like Wes Montgomery.
Oh, yes, for sure. I mean, George Benson is, for certain he comes from the Wes Montgomery school of thought. And of course, Wes Montgomery is also one of the, the best guitar players, the world has to produce. So I think, but for me, Wes Montgomery, unfortunately lived a short life.
Yeah.
And George Benson, maybe learned from him, emulated from him, and brought it to the world in a different direction. But of course, you're right.
I think you saying Django Reinhardt was right on. I mean, he there's so many guitarists that learned from him. I think Freddie Green, the Count Basie Band. I mean, he learned a lot from him.
Yes,
Charlie Christian, Benny Goodman's. These are all people. These are all people.
That's right.
But then again, you would know a lot more about that than me. I'm just an avid listener, and I can't play any instrument. Although I can tap my pencil on the desk pretty good.
I don't know. You harmonica pretty good sometimes.
Yeah, my harmonica.
You're a little harmonica.
That's cool, right? That's cool.
So you could be part of a jazz band, Rod, because harmonica is always okay.
But I'd have to plug it in somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay. If I need a harmonica player, I will.
Give Rod a call.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Well, my question is about pre-performance routines. Do you have any pre-performance routines? Like, do you do warm-ups, or do you have any like interesting habits? Like you have to have a particular kind of tea or a cake or something that you have to have that makes you feel good.
Okay. For me, it's just like I always like to have a nice cup of coffee and like a very quiet time on my own. Before I start doing my routines or before I start even practicing, just that quiet 10-15 minutes time,
so you can focus.
So that at least I can compose myself. I can just relax, and after that I'll plan. If I have a gig that is coming in a very near time, I will of course organize well. Get my charts ready and then plan ahead. And okay, this is another routine that I like to do. Every time when I start warming up, I will always get the guitar and I will just try to scat along with any note that I play,
Okay.
That's right. I always do that one.
That's fun.
That would be a fun exercise to
Absolutely.
do. And it's very improvisational, right?
Yes, exactly.
Well, it gets your brain going in that creative mode instead of, day-to-day stuff.
Or just playing to a sheet music, right?
Yeah.
Rather than just sitting there.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So cool.
Your life seems to revolve around jazz music, obviously, and you're so accomplished.
Yeah.
What do you personally find so appealing about that particular genre?
Oh, I think I would like to use the word organic. I think jazz is very organic. Like you have the sheet music, right? And you bring it up to a bandstand. And the musicians that you play with, they come from even different backgrounds too. So the level of interpretation is going to be on that bandstand. And whatever happens during improvisation is going to be very, very exciting, at least for me, because sometimes when you are on a very good day, you can really go far and far, really expand and really explore all the possibilities. And I think the word organic will be the most appealing thing in jazz. That's what I think.
No, but that makes perfect sense.
That does
because
make sense.
It is in fact, it grew out of kind of a very organic environment. People, there was when jazz started, as you know, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, there wasn't, nobody just picked up an instrument and started playing jazz. I mean, it evolved and it evolved going multi-directions. And that's why we have such outstanding jazz music today. And the term organic, Rizal, that
really says a lot.
Hit it. I mean, I've never thought about it that way, but you really defined it. It is very organic.
Yeah, I have to say, because every day is a different experience, even though if we are playing the same tune, even
Yeah. Well, I guess it's like a really a conversation. It's always changing. It's never the same. And sometimes it can be, relaxed and very cool. And other times it can be a little bit more heated. And
yes.
Yeah.
To show my little bit of jazz knowledge. What I really liked is when Art Tatum would play Mary Had a Little Lamb on a piano that half the keys no longer worked and managed to play that for like a half hour straight. That's pretty amazing. And I think jazz is really the only music you can do that with.
Exactly. Yes, I would agree with you. 100%.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yes. Now, I know that you had mentioned when we had our initial conversation that you have an upcoming album release. Is that true?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it's true.
Okay. Can you share some of the details about your new album?
Okay. There's two albums that I'm going to be, recording in. The first one is a trio album.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to feature, my compositions and some jazz standards, that's going to be inside there.
Mm-hmm.
And the other album is more of a quintet group setup. But that one is going to be more on the smooth jazz, the West Coast element.
Yeah.
So So I'm trying to, do something for me.
Mm-hmm.
And also for the community, because in Malaysia, in Kuala Lumpur especially, the audience they kind of prefer, if I can say this, they prefer more towards the West Coast jazz, the one that has all these grooves and there's some R&B elements and all things like that.
Yeah.
But the trio is definitely for me, because I would love to hear what I can possibly do with the guitar in a trio setup, because I don't have any piano player, to back me up.
Right.
So the melodies, the chords, the rhythmic aspects of it, I've got to be able to decide, things like that. So it's challenging.
Wow.
But it's
Yeah,
I
fun.
can't wait. I really can't wait, Rizal, because like listening to your YouTube playing in your channel, like if anyone listens to it, they're going to be a fan immediately.
Well, they will, because we're going to have links.
Yeah.
Links to all that.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Well, I know that you have another song that you'd like to share with us today. So if you could tell us what the title is and what it is, and we'll go ahead and listen to that as well.
Oh, okay. The next one is going to be a song from the trio album. It's titled Bluesy Floozy. So I'm going to play that song for you. Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, let's have a listen then.
Not only was that great, but you got to love the name Bluesy
I love
Floozy.
You can't forget it.
No, you can't forget it.
No.
Thank you for sharing
Thank
that piece
you.
with us. That was that's pretty spectacular.
Absolutely.
Well,
thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure.
We will have to definitely get that album and add it to our
Both
jazz
of them,
collection.
yes.
Yeah, both of them.
Okay, great.
You know, you're a director, a composer, an arranger, and a musician. You must have one of those that you personally feel like you excel at.
Oh, well, I think I can safely say performance, the guitar, playing jazz guitar. Yeah.
I think we would probably have to agree with you on that, seeing how we've never seen you conduct.
Yeah, we haven't seen the conducting part.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. I think jazz, performing, especially with the guitar. And I think, I do that most of the time, rather than for the big band. Of course, I conduct the big band, I conduct the ensembles and all, but I am more on the bandstand, with playing the guitar. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So more with that, actually.
Do you have a favorite band, jazz band that you like?
Oh, yes. Well, I've always liked the Chick Corea Electric Band.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And Foreplay, Bob James, Nathan East, And of course, right now, my favorite band will be Kurt Rosenwinkel, the group, Kurt Rosenwinkel Group. And all-time favorite, Pat Metheny Group.
Yeah, Pat Metheny.
He's a favorite. Yes. Everybody likes him.
And he's the one who he gets played the most on jazz radio for sure.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. I was wondering if you were going to mention him.
Yeah. That's interesting. Those are some good picks, though.
Great picks.
Yeah. Well, as we were talking, your future looks very, very bright. What do you hope to accomplish in 2022?
Well, of course, launching both albums would be the best thing to do, early 2022. And I am planning, if at all God willing, I am planning to pursue my PhD as well. Doctoral studies.
That's going to be wonderful. Yeah. Wow, cool.
Yes.
Well, you're going to have a busy 2022, but really an exciting one. And all of that just adds to your personal goals and success. So both Angie and I congratulate you on that.
Thank you so much, Rod and Angie. Yeah, thank you.
If someone came up to you and wanted to become a jazz guitarist, what would be the number one thing you would tell them and you should know?
Oh, okay. Well, I think I would certainly say to them that, you got to be very, very upfront, and you must have an open heart and be willing to accept all the changes and be willing to explore, and don't walk on a straight line. That's what I always tell my students anyway, don't walk a straight line if you really want to study jazz. It's a bit philosophical, yes, I must say, but I think that's the best thing that I can say. Because if you...
What do you mean by... I was just going to ask, what do you mean by don't walk a straight line? Like, explain a little more.
Let me explain. Like when you're playing certain styles of music, like let's say for pop music, right?
Yeah.
You got to really know the song and try to be as closest to the soundscapes of that particular tune.
Mm-hmm.
So that is what I mean by walking a straight line. Like you got to really try to be as closest as possible, when you play, because if not, people are not going to recognize the song somehow.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, but for jazz, if you try and like a straight line, you try to treat the chords exactly as it is, and you try to treat the rhythms exactly as it is. Well, you're going to sound very straightforward and sometimes rigid, if I might say. So that's what.
Yeah, rigid. Rigid's a good term. Yeah, rigid's that straight line is prevalent in classical music because they try to duplicate it as close to what the composer had in mind, and even
exactly right.
And even they even go back to period instruments so they can make it sound perfect. I like that. Don't
with jazz. Yeah,
get off the straight line and be your own. Invent, right? Invent as you go.
Yes, get off the straight line.
Well, I like that's true. Excellent. That's good advice for not only playing a guitar. However, there's other things in life.
In life, maybe.
Yeah, get off the straight line.
So more philosophical than you thought. I think Rizal, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I mean, of course, we gotta try and understand, like what happened in the past and present and what's going to happen in the future. But but having like a certain quotes, in maybe perhaps life also, can relate ourselves into music, into other things, sports even.
Yeah, so creativity, just creativity in general.
Yeah, everything.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to ask you the question we ask every guest that's on the podcast. And
okay.
if you could sit on the park bench and chat with anyone from the past, who would it be?
Oh, I think I would like to chat with Mr. Joe Pass.
Oh, okay.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you pick him?
Well, first of all, he's a famous guitarist.
No, I figured that.
And he was a pioneer. Mm-hmm. But tell us why.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more.
Oh, I just want to understand, how his family, there was never any background in music, but somehow he was the only guy, that came up and became so prominent in jazz, that he was being referred, until now even, and all the studies about him. And the other thing that I would like to ask him is that how did he even figure out how he would utilize all the harmony at that time, at that period, at that era, and the way he plays it, it's phenomenal. I want to ask, like, how and why did he decided to do that? That's what I wanted to ask.
That would be
a great conversation, right? You would learn so much from him.
Because I suspect he's going to shrug his shoulders and say, "I don't know, it just came through me," because it was kind of divinely inspired. Knowing a little bit about Joe Pass, it would be divinely inspired, because he would say, "There's nothing in my background that would have ever suggested in a million years that this is what my life would turn out to be."
Yep, true. Yeah, but we never know. Something might have triggered him somehow.
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
Well, if you ever do have the opportunity to sit on a park bench with him, will you please share with us what he told you?
You need to let us know.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, of course.
Well, I hate to wind this up because you're wonderful to talk to. And I personally love jazz music, and I was really excited to learn that you were going to be a guest of ours. And I have to say, you definitely did not disappoint. You're a very, very talented artist. I'll call you. You're an artist in what you have managed to create with your instrument, and the fact that you share so much with everyone else. You're very generous with the
Thanks, Rod.
with the things you've been blessed with, the talent you've been blessed with. I think that's really quite special.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree with Rod.
Yeah, thank you for having me, as I can share some of my experiences too. Yeah.
Yeah, so glad. And then also, I forgot to ask you earlier, when are your albums going to come out, Rizal?
Okay, now, of course, we are, just heading out towards this pandemic, this COVID-19 situation.
Yeah.
So hopefully, it's going to be released in March.
In March. Okay, cool.
Yeah, hopefully. But that's the target.
And where is it going to be released? Is it everywhere?
Well, it's going to be released in Bandcamp, Spotify, and of course the physical album, the CDs. Yes, of course.
Okay,
I
great.
will send you a copy.
Oh.
I will mail you a copy.
I'm so excited.
Both copies, yes.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
Will you tape one of your old guitar strings to it so we know it's you?
That's it.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I can. Oh,
exactly. Gosh. Well, thank you so much, Rizal, for being with us here today. And listening to your beautiful guitar playing was definitely a soul-soothing experience. Oh, so enjoyed it. And now comes the time that I have to let our listeners know. If you'd like to know more about Rizal, we will have links for him under our show guest tab on thoughtroadpodcast.com so everyone can learn more about him and connect.
Yeah, Rizal, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, Rod and Inchi. I really appreciate all this, and it's really glad to be here with both of you. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Well, thank you so much.
We'll be talking more, I'm sure.
Okay, yeah, sure. Of course.
I'm really glad you tuned in today. We hope you enjoyed the thoughts and ideas we shared with you.
We post a new podcast every week, so remember to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss an episode. So it's bye for now from my husband Rod and I, wishing everyone a great day.